Hello, my name is Sandra, and I'm 35 years old. I work in an office and currently live with my husband, Matthew, and his mother in their family home. Despite being married, I often feel a sense of emptiness in my relationship due to the relentless bullying from my mother-in-law, which never seems to improve. Matthew and I first met through our jobs. Our companies were collaborators, which led us to work closely on various projects. As we spent more time together, our relationship blossomed, and we began going out for meals and enjoying dates. After a year of dating, Matthew proposed, and we tied the knot when I was 32. At first, our marriage was blissful, just the two of us, exploring life together. I had yet to uncover Matthew's true nature. We both had thriving careers, allowing us to indulge in luxurious weekends filled with trips and gourmet dining. I envisioned a future brimming with beautiful memories. However, everything changed dramatically 3 years into our marriage when Matthew's father fell ill and passed away unexpectedly. Overwhelmed by grief, Matthew suggested we move in with his mother. I was taken aback by this idea. While I sympathized with her loss, we had only been married for 3 years, and I cherished our independence as a couple. In the wake of these events, my relationship with my mother-in-law soared. Her treatment of me became increasingly harsh, making our living situation unbearable. In an unexpected twist, she handed me divorce papers, claiming it would be best for everyone if Matthew and I separated. Confused and heartbroken, I decided to take a break and stayed with my parents for a month to gather my thoughts and seek advice from my father. During this time, I took the difficult step of filing for divorce. My decision felt right, but soon after, my mother-in-law began bombarding me with calls, begging for forgiveness and admitting her mistakes. This period was incredibly challenging, forcing me to reevaluate my relationships and the direction of my happiness. As I navigated these turbulent waters, I learned the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing my well-being amid familial pressures. Matthew expressed a strong desire to remain close to his mother after his father's death, feeling a deep responsibility to care for her as her only son. "I'm her only son," he often said, "so I feel like I need to take care of her as much as I can," he told me, his voice heavy with a sense of duty that was only intensified by his regret for not being more attentive to his father before he passed away. Watching Matthew grapple with the weight of his father's death, I felt compelled to support him, even though I had reservations about moving in with his mother. Soon, we made the transition to my mother-in-law's house. Upon our arrival, she expressed her relief with warmth. "It's good of you to be here," she said, beaming at Matthew. "You don't have to worry anymore now that we're here," he reassured her. Her response was filled with gratitude. "Thank you, dear. I'll take care of you both from now on." While Matthew appreciated her words, I sensed a chill in the air whenever I was involved. After settling in, we joined my mother-in-law in the living room, where she had prepared an array of treats from her bakery featuring her beloved almond paste. Matthew's eyes sparkled with childlike glee as he praised the delicacies, and for a moment, I couldn't help but share in his joy. However, the atmosphere shifted when my mother-in-law turned to me, her expression icy. "Sandra, are you all right? Why do you look so lost?" Her tone was brisk as she suggested we make some coffee to accompany the pastries. As I fumbled to find the coffee supplies, she remarked snidely, "Where are the coffee pots and things? You're so useless, aren't you?" She gestured toward a cluttered shelf, adding with a dismissive tone, "Oh, look, they're over there where the wife's stuff is." Her comment stung, especially since it was unfounded. I had always done my part to help out, yet she seemed determined to portray me otherwise. This interaction served as a stark reminder of the challenging dynamics in the house, reinforcing my doubts about our decision to move in. Before my husband and I made this choice, we often visited his mother's home. Whenever I attempted to help around the house, she would insist, "No need, just sit down," effectively barring me from the kitchen. It was clear she had specific ways she preferred things done and didn't want anyone disrupting her system. Eventually, I stopped offering to help, thinking it might ease the tension. Unfortunately, this only made matters worse. She continued to snap at me unexpectedly, which felt incredibly unfair. After one particularly sharp rebuke, she fixed me with a stern gaze and demanded, "What's with that look? Do you have a problem?" Not wanting to escalate the conflict, I silently hoped my husband would intervene. I glanced over at him, seeking some support, but he was absorbed in his phone, seemingly oblivious to the discomfort his mother was causing me. It was frustrating and hurtful that he didn't seem to notice, let alone address the situation. This tension was only the beginning of our difficult living arrangement. Almost immediately after moving in, issues began to surface more frequently. One morning, she barged into our room, exclaiming, "Hey Sandra, why are you still sleeping?" I glanced at my phone, surprised to see it was only 6 o'clock a.m. I replied, slightly confused, "It's only 6 o'clock in the morning." Unfazed, she retorted, "So what? You should be up making breakfast and preparing Matthew's lunch. And don't forget, you're supposed to clean the bathroom every day." Her expectations startled me. I typically didn't make lunch for my husband since we often skipped breakfast due to not being morning eaters. Moreover, cleaning the bathroom before heading to work felt impractical and exhausting. The demands of waking up early to complete all these tasks seemed unreasonable and overwhelming. As I hesitated to respond to my mother-in-law's early morning demands, she grew increasingly irritated, questioning my capabilities and upbringing. "Why are you just standing there? Hurry up. What kind of upbringing did you have to become so useless?" Her harsh words cut deep, igniting a mix of anger and determination within me. In response, I resolved to meet her expectations head-on. From that point forward, I began waking up at 6 o'clock a.m. every day, preparing not just basic meals but also more elaborate dishes for breakfast and lunch for both my husband and me. I made it a point to keep the bathroom impeccably clean, and to my surprise, I found a sense of satisfaction in maintaining a spotless space. It felt good to create an inviting environment. My husband noticed my efforts and often expressed his gratitude for the meals and the cleanliness. However, despite my increased efforts, my mother-in-law's attitude did not improve. Instead, her demands escalated. One day, she would crave Japanese cuisine, only to switch to French the next, insisting on homemade pizza and freshly cooked pasta paired with red wine from upscale shops. These requests came with the tone of a special occasion, yet they quickly became daily expectations. The most frustrating aspect was that my husband seemed to always side with her. He would instruct me to adhere strictly to his mother's wishes, saying, "Make sure you do it exactly how my mom wants," without ever offering to help. He completely disengaged from the tasks, leaving everything to me. As a result, our precious days off were consumed with preparing elaborate dinners for his mother. Moreover, she relentlessly critiqued my life choices. "You're a wife. Why are you still working? You should be at home, supporting your husband. Plus, you're getting older and your time to have children is running out. Do you realize you're almost worthless?" she asserted daily. Her words were not only demanding but deeply hurtful, causing me to reflect on her character and wonder about the kind of upbringing that shaped such a harsh personality. Her constant criticisms made me question the sustainability of living under such scrutiny and pressure. One particularly stressful day, compounded by work and the ongoing tension with my mother-in-law, my husband confronted me with an accusation. "My mom says you're neglecting the housework. Is that true? You never listen to me and always act defiantly. I used to appreciate the lunches you made every day, but now it's all frozen food," Matthew said, his voice laced with disappointment. "Do you believe what your mom says?" "Of course I believe her. Why wouldn't I? Are you suggesting my mom is lying?" His tongue sharpened, dripping with accusation. "You're acting terribly as a wife. Can't you fulfill your role properly?" I was furious at his lack of understanding and support. "What are you talking about? Just look for yourself. I make homemade lunches, clean, do laundry, and cook dinner every day." My frustration boiled over. "I'm telling you to stop lying. What mom says is true," Matthew snapped, dismissing my efforts as if they were inconsequential. "You're acting crazy." "Crazy? You're such a mama's boy. What are you even saying? You never believe me or help me with anything," I shot back, the argument escalating quickly. His face flushed with anger, and our exchange marked a significant deterioration in our relationship. From that day on, home became increasingly challenging. Whenever my mother-in-law criticized or harassed me, Matthew began echoing her insults. "Hey, is dinner ready? I just got home. Hurry up," he demanded one evening as soon as he walked through the door. "You're so slow and useless," my mother-in-law added, her words hitting me like daggers. As they berated me, I muttered under my breath, "You're both failures," feeling exhausted and isolated. They then decided to go out to eat together. "Never mind, let's just go out to eat," Matthew suggested abruptly. "That sounds good. Let's go," My mother-in-law agreed enthusiastically. I was left behind, completely excluded from the outing, a clear sign of how disconnected I had become from what was supposed to be my family. Each day, I endured insults and belittlement from both of them, making me question the viability of staying in such a marriage. Was enduring this relentless negativity really worth it? It was then that life handed me an unexpected chance to change everything. As I pondered this new opportunity, a flicker of hope ignited within me. I finally realized that I didn't have to endure the toxic environment created by my husband and mother-in-law any longer. Their usual taunts persisted, unabated. "You're worthless as a daughter-in-law. I can't fathom how my son ended up marrying you," my mother-in-law scolded, with Matthew smirking beside her, clearly enjoying the moment. Seizing the opportunity, I stood up with unwavering resolve. "I'm going back to my parents' house for a month," I announced. They both stared at me, their faces a mixture of surprise and anger. "What about the house? What if there's a fire?" my husband exclaimed, panic evident in his voice. "You're being incredibly irresponsible. If you leave, then just divorce my son," my mother-in-law shouted, her anger palpable as she yanked open a drawer and pulled out divorce papers, thrusting them at me. "Go ahead, sign them," she challenged. "Oh, Mom, you're prepared for this," Matthew remarked, clearly taken aback. "That's right, you have no choice but to obey us. If you don't like it, then get a divorce," my mother-in-law asserted, convinced of her control. "Fine, let's get divorced then," I responded decisively, surprising them both. Their eyes widened in shock at my firm stance, but I ignored their reactions and began filling out the divorce papers. "I'm done with my part, so please leave quickly," I told them, my voice steady. Matthew blinked in disbelief, unable to reconcile the woman standing before him with the one he thought he could easily manipulate. "Was that earlier just a bluff? That's lame," he muttered, struggling to grasp that I was genuinely reclaiming my life and independence. When I insisted on finalizing the divorce, Matthew's demeanor shifted dramatically. He glared at me sharply. "Don't mess around." "I'm serious," I asserted, my resolve unwavering. Without another word, Matthew snatched the divorce papers from my hands and swiftly filled in his section. He slammed the papers down on the table. "Is this good enough?" he asked, his tone bitter. "Even if you want to take it back, it's too late." "Oh well, this means it's over for you too," he declared, attempting to mask his dismay with bravado, a cold laugh escaping him. My mother-in-law chimed in my heart, it's over for you guys." But I thought to myself, it's truly over for you. With no further delay, I left their house and immediately submitted the divorce papers. When I returned to my parents' home, I recounted everything to my father, who was deeply shocked but promised to support me in whatever actions were necessary. A month later, my phone was inundated with calls from my mother-in-law. "Hello, what do you want?" I answered, my tone icy. "We're strangers now," she replied, her voice pleading. "Please don't say that. Matthew and I are in a difficult situation." Her words dripped with insincerity. "Oh, really? That must be tough for you," I replied curtly. Her response was predictably sarcastic, revealing the true colors of our fractured relationship. "I haven't said anything yet. I'd rather end this call. Can I hang up?" I pressed, eager to disconnect. "Wait, I have a favor to ask. Can you talk to your father?" she implored, her voice tinged with desperation. "Why should I, after everything you and Matthew put me through?" I shot back, irritation bubbling to the surface. "I'm sorry about that," she replied, attempting to mend bridges. "I didn't realize your father's company is an important business partner of Matthew's." Her words hit me hard. It turned out my father ran a successful company that had dealings with Matthews. We probably discussed this before getting married, but at that time, my father-in-law was still alive, and my mother-in-law hadn't felt the need to involve herself in those discussions. As for Matthew, it was strange that he didn't remember, but perhaps he had forgotten while siding with his mother and criticizing me. When my father decided to sever business ties, Matthew's company offered to continue the contract by letting him go, resulting in his job loss. This turn of events highlighted the consequences of their actions and how my departure had set everything in motion. Matthew had ambitious plans to remodel our family home, anticipating us living together long-term. To finance these renovations, he had taken out a substantial loan. However, with his recent unemployment, managing the repayments became nearly impossible. Up until our divorce, I had contributed my fair share to our living expenses. which had helped keep us afloat financially. Now, with the divorce finalized, Matthew and my mother-in-law found themselves in a precarious situation. Why did you feel the need to show off by remodeling the house, Matthew? You're so proud, just like your mother. I couldn't help but think as I listened to their financial turmoil. My mother-in-law reached out again, her voice desperate. Please help me, she pleaded. I apologize for my mistakes, she added, her tone weak and devoid of her usual defiance. I'm sorry, but I can't forgive you for what you've done, I responded firmly. If you're expecting me to help, it's pointless. Instead, focus on finding a job, even if it's temporary. This conversation is a waste of time, so I'm ending it now. With that, I ended the call and took the decisive step of blocking their numbers. Later, I learned that Matthew and his mother couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments and were forced to sell the house. It was a relatively new home, one that could have comfortably supported my mother-in-law through her retirement. It was a shame that their poor financial management and unnecessary extravagance led to such a waste. They ended up relocating to an apartment on some island where my ex-husband now works part-time. This drastic change in their circumstances highlighted the impact of their actions and our severed ties. While they now relied on my mother-in-law's pension to make ends meet, I was preparing for a significant change in my own life. Instead of renting a new place right away, I decided to stay with my parents until my departure. This time with them was precious to me, and I intended to cherish every moment until I moved overseas. I was filled with excitement and hope about starting anew in a different country. Despite the past difficulties with my ex-husband and mother-in-law, I remained optimistic about what the future held. It puzzled me why they had treated me poorly, but I felt relieved to have severed those ties. Perhaps in this new chapter abroad, I might even meet a wonderful partner and explore the possibility of an international marriage. I genuinely wish happiness for my ex-husband and mother-in-law in whatever their future endeavors might be. Thank you for following my story. If you found it engaging, please consider subscribing to the channel. I look forward to sharing more updates and stories with you as I embark on this exciting journey.